Sweet. Well, thank you all for joining Industrial Marketing Live today. We are super stoked to see you. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. My name is Peyton. I am a strategist here at Gorilla. And the other strategists here at Gorilla, you've got Mary, Brendan, Aaron, all on the phone right now. If you want to wave and say hi, we love cameras here at IML, so feel free to share your video. But if you've never joined IML, we are a space for learning, a space for growing for industrial manufacturers. And we like to collaborate, workshop, talk through things that are important to you and your companies, help you improve yourself individually, amplify your own career, and amplify the results you're driving for your company. So a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. We love the chat. So, oh, hey, Kevin. Welcome, Kevin. Kevin's our performance marketer here at Gorilla. If you can share questions in the chat, you can do commentary, socialize, whatever you need to do. This is your community just as much as it is mine. So feel free to chime in. Be thoughtful with your audio. We like to record this because we like to think it's useful. And so we'll repurpose it, share it out with folks afterwards. So you're not required to stay muted. We actually love to bring people up on stage, but just be thoughtful about that. If other people are talking, we want to make sure we can hear them very well. And that's really all I've got. So today, coming at you from the Gorilla office in St. Louis. And so you might hear, I'm going to try and mute myself so you don't hear all of the street traffic here. But today's topic is on routines, setting up a routine for success. And being that so many industrial marketers are running on teams of one, maybe teams of two, just very small teams, it's really hard to do it all.
You're ready. Hey there, can I get the
mute. Being that we're all on teams of one, it's really hard to do it all. So today we're going to talk about how to prioritize the work that really matters, that will make the biggest impact on the business and your own career. So before we jump into tactics, I want to highlight some thoughts that Mary shared yesterday on LinkedIn because they're super relevant. And I actually shared it out in the email that we sent yesterday leading up to this call. And I just want to hit on the point that Mary is making, that before we even say we want to set up a routine for success, we need to first define success. What is that? What does that mean for me? What are people expecting? And yeah, so can you share a little bit more about that with us, Mary?
Heck yeah. So I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what the decision tree I shared on LinkedIn looks like. So can you guys all see this? All good? Yeah, cool. So decision tree, I was like, sitting, hanging out. It's a Sunday afternoon. My kids are napping and I'm like, man, what does like a schedule for success look like? I've been a marketer in-house for R&D, for corporate. I've been on the agency side. All those routines look very different. Why do those routines look so different? I think it all starts with, does marketing have a seat at the table? Now, this is actually very specific, and I have specific parameters around this. This means that either you or your immediate supervisor should be reporting on and making high-level business decisions. So for example, if you, like I did in my former corporate life, if you report to a director of marketing who reports to a VP of sales, who reports to a CEO, marketing does not have a seat at the table because you or your immediate supervisor need to be reporting to the CEO. So you guys need to be having like those high-level business decisions. Okay, so from there you can go yes or no. So we'll say in my former job, it was no. So, okay, let's move down the decision tree. So could they get one? Does your company or organization have an appetite for marketing or for seeing marketing in a different light, for seeing the value it can bring, for using it as a growth lever for your company? Now, the way that you can test this appetite, pitch an idea, any idea. It could be a podcast, which you're going to chop into micro content that you're going to distribute on social media. And the way that you're going to measure that is high intent form fills and people saying, I heard about you guys on Facebook in an open field text form that says, how did you hear about us? This is just an example. So just pitch any idea that you think will work for your company or will push either product or business growth forward. Okay, so I did this at my former company. I pitched an idea for we were releasing a new tank cleaning nozzle. I had a 5-page marketing plan for how we were going to do it, each stage we were going to do. So internal promotion, external promotion, customer research, what success, like all the definitions, everything laid out there. And my boss was like, okay, that's cool, but we're not going to do any of that. So I would say, no, they probably don't have an appetite for seeing marketing as a growth lever. So what's your option? Well, you can leave, which I did. So if this is your career, you guys are in charge of it. So this shouldn't be a scary concept. You can still make a lot of inroads at your current company while making plans to do other things. But hopefully this is an outlier. Hopefully this is like only a few of you have this option there. But we'll say, you know what, you pitch this idea and they do have an appetite for marketing success. So what do you need to do now? You need to do what I told you I just did. Define what success could look like for marketing, pitch the idea to your leaders and get buy-in. So let's say I had pitched that marketing plan for the product that we were releasing. I got buy-in, they're excited, they're giving me a budget, perfect. Now execute, show it, set realistic expectations and make sure you're reporting as you're going along. So you're saying, okay, by month 1, 30 days in, I'll have all my customer research done. 60 days in, I'll have content produced. 90 days, I'll be distributing it. And I can expect to see results, 30, 60, 90 days after that. So setting expectations is going to be huge here. All right. So let's go all the way back. We'll say, yes, marketing has a seat at the table. So you or your immediate supervisor is reporting to the CEO. You guys have decisions. You're allowed to create and report on high-level business outcomes. So then it is, do you have a common currency? So common currency is something I heard from Dave Gerhardt's podcast, and I loved it. So common currency is something you all agree on. So your leadership team, that could be the CEO, it could be your direct supervisor. It's what does success look like for marketing and sales? Okay. So this could be, and I kind of show it in the post here, it could be qualified meetings, pipeline dollars, qualified quote requests, leads, opportunities, whatever the common currency is, just make sure it's agreed on and that you guys have a clear definition for it. All right. Why does that common currency matter? This allows you to set guardrails on your activities. So let's say sales is coming to you and they're like, hey, I got this cool product and I need a brochure for it. Okay, great. How is this going to bring us more opportunities? How do you expect to see this distributed? What value do you expect this to bring to our target market? So when you guys have a common currency, it allows you to put those guardrails in place. So you don't have to be doing all these, like every single activity that, sales or admin or the VPs are giving you from all these different directions. So this is your guardrail setting, is this common currency. If you guys do not have one, pitch it to your boss so that you can define it. This should be something that's agreed on, like I said, with leadership, sales, and marketing. So this might take a lot of education on your part, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So if you guys can we've done this with clients before, usually our common currency is pipeline dollars. So not necessarily leads, not necessarily qualified opportunities, but how much money are our marketing programs actually bringing in? Okay. So we're going to define it. We're going to get buy-in. All right. Let's say you do have a common currency right now, which is great. Do you have the resources you need to measure it? So the resources you're going to need to measure it are some kind of CRM or some kind of like MarTech software. So like a HubSpot would be ideal here. Okay. So let's say you don't have it. You ask for what you need. Go out there and say, we need a CRM. I'll give you an example from my former company. We did have a CRM. Unfortunately, no one was really using it correctly. So, okay, ask for what you need. Hey, we need some in-depth sales training on how to use this CRM. We need to get sales to use a CRM. It's incredibly important. Got to get buy-in there. Okay, let's say you do have the CRM. Everybody's using it. Great. We want 80% of your time dedicated to your common currency. So 80% of your time, you should be able to point back to any activity you're doing, any task you're given should point back to your common currency. So this is kind of like my very long tail way of saying it depends when it comes to setting up a schedule for success. Because when I was at my former company and I'm here, setting up a schedule for success for me is going to look very different than if you're here, right? So this is my very, very long way of saying it depends. But I would like to hear from you guys because this will kind of help us tailor the conversation to you. So if I was going to number these, so let's say you're all the way down here, your 80% of your time should be dedicated to your common currency. This is number one. So if you ended up here, that's number one. If you ended up here, that's number two. If you ended up either of these, that's number three. So if you need to define what success means for marketing and get buy-in, that's number three. And number four is leave. So please put a number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat so that we can kind of help tailor these schedules for success to you guys. All right. So while we're doing that, Brendan's going to take it away, or Peyton, whoever would like to, and we're going to start chatting, must-haves in your schedule for success.
Yeah. So you said 80-20, right?
Yes.
I guess my first question, I feel like the 20 is a lot right now for a lot of people. What are you suggesting happens with that 20%?
So the 20% could be the random sales request. Hey, can you help me find this brochure from 10 years ago? Hey, can you edit this spec sheet that has nothing to do with qualified opportunities? That's okay. Like, as long as it's only taking up 20% of your time, let it happen. You're collaborating with sales, you're getting some good like marketing sales alignment. So that's fine. Let 20% be there. But if you're more on the other end, where let's say only 50, 60% of your time is dedicated to that common currency, that's when you need to start setting up your guardrails. So this is where, like, Aaron's going to take this away a little bit. You can start tracking your time. And if you're seeing, let's say 30 to 40% of your time is filled with random email requests from sales that you're having to like respond to constantly. So how can you start setting guardrails right now so that we can push that more 80% toward your common currency number?
All right. So 80%, 32 hours a week if we're all working 40 hours a week, right? What do you need to be thinking about first when you start embarking on that 80% journey?
Yeah. So I think it goes back to what Mary was talking about. Like, what is that common currency, right? So we have to figure out, this is where we're starting from. Where are we trying to go? Right? All strategy starts, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm trying to go, and this is my general plan and how I'm going to get there. So we have to figure out, are we going after revenue? Are we going after leads? Once we figure that out, then we could start filling in that marketing plan. So the first thing to setting up a good success, a routine for success, is to develop your marketing plan. So, traditionally, like as a marketer, every year we're looking at starting a marketing plan, let's say January to December. Over the next 12 months, I need to increase my revenue by, I would get like a 10% increase in sales revenue, but then I have to like figure out how much is that's going to be marketing supported and how much is that going to be sales supported, how much is that going to come from price increase. So once I figure out what my actual dollar amount is for marketing, then I can start putting together my plan, right? So I would say, like at Gorilla, we really focused on our plan on demand generation, right? So heavy content production into capturing demand. So a lot of content. So then I got to figure out, well, what content do I need to create to support the plan that I want to do? Maybe your plan is events. Maybe it's a lot of trade shows. Or maybe it's very heavy, like it's like almost, maybe it's all sales and you have to create a marketing plan as like it's all sales support. I'm sorry if that is your case, but so figure out what your end goal is, what your general strategy is to get there as part of your marketing plan. And I think, think back to IML like months ago, Matt Chanel said, like, don't create a content plan for a year out. So we're looking at like a general plan for the year, right? I want to just create X amount of content, not necessarily like these are the topics that I'm going to go after, or this is the content I'm going to create, but I'm going to create X amount of content. And then once you figure out like, this is like the general idea of what I need to do. Now we get started blocking in, when things are due, and then putting in time blocks. So before we get to that, the one thing you always need to be doing as part of your routine for success is a must-have. You have to be listening to your customers. You have to have some sort of mechanism in your schedule to listen to customers. So either that's going to be on purpose going out and conducting interviews, 30 minutes to 60-minute interviews with your customers. So getting a list for that, so you can do that. You can use Gong or other sales listening tools to listen in on sales calls. Go to your trade shows, go to your events, run webinars, listen to customers there. Like, we use this as a place for us to hear, like, what are industrial marketers having issues with? We use this forum for us to listen to our customers. You could do the same thing. Comments on your LinkedIn posts, on your LinkedIn ads. So there's a bunch of different ways. So just figure out how you're going to get customer interviews, or how you're going to get customer insights, and just keep that as a continual part of your routine. And then I would say, so now you start figuring, for us, creating demand, creating content is a big thing. So we do IML every 2 weeks. This is the main part of how we create content as a company. So we have this, and then Joe Sullivan, our founder, he's got his own podcast, which is his content pillar. So we have multiple content pillars that are going up on a recurring basis. So every single month we have 2 of these events that take an hour. And then we all sit in outline meetings. So we have an hour of prep, and then we probably have, what would you guys say, 3 hours for every single episode that we use for post-production, either creating content, editing content, and distributing content. So for each person, that's like 5 hours. So if I'm when I was at Graco, it was pretty similar too. I'd create a podcast or I'd create a video. It'd take me about 5 hours to put something together. So there's that's a big chunk of my weekly time, right? If I'm doing a weekly event, so 5 hours of the 32 hours that are left. So what is that? That's almost a whole nother day. So create the content. That's going to be a time block ahead. Yep.
But Brendan, how do you know, I guess, to maybe even bring it back, how do you know that you should spend those 5 hours, right?
So
is that even worth your time?
Tie it back to your marketing plan. If your marketing plan says that we're going to generate demand, and that means you have to create content, and you have to create you have to create case studies, you have to write articles, you have to write blogs, you have to do video, a podcast, you have to have some sort of mechanism to educate your end users. So content time is extremely important in that strategy. But if that's not your strategy, then I would never really recommend a marketer not create content. But the way that you do your marketing might be a little different. Maybe you need less time for content and more time for distributing, or more time in capturing demand, or more time in CRM reporting. So you have to just figure out what is your main lever for getting marketing information out. Ours is creating content. Ours is IML. Ours is the manufacturing executive. Ours is writing articles for the website. So those are the 3 main ways that we get information out to our buyers or our clients. Mm-hmm. So creating content, and then it's really important for you to book in time to distribute that content too, right? It takes time for us to put these videograms up on LinkedIn. It takes time to put this on YouTube. It takes time, we've started to use IML as part of our paid social, right? So it takes time for Aaron to go into LinkedIn and create campaigns around inviting marketers to IML. It takes time to set up Google Ads, right? So you have to book in all that time, right? I think, for each of our clients, we book in something like 2 to 3 hours a week for LinkedIn, 1 to 2 hours a week for Google Ads. So, depending on what your workflow is like that's another at least 5 hours of distributing. So I got 5 hours in creating content. I got 5 hours in distributing content. I have to have an X amount of hours for listening to customers. And then a big chunk of that must-have time is your simmering time. You need to be able to think, right? As a marketer, as a marketing strategy, you have to think. You have to have some time that's specifically set aside for you to go outside, get some fresh air, and think about your marketing programs. Without your boss looking over your cubicle wall and asking you to create a brochure. You have to have dedicated time in your calendar that you are going to spend thinking. And I like to do that outside walking, or sitting on my couch drinking coffee. But you have to have some of that time dedicated to thinking about your marketing program, because you're going to create that year-long marketing plan, but you're going to have to there's going to be things you have to change throughout, right? And if you're not thinking about what you need to change, you're not going to change anything. And all of a sudden, 9 months from now, some major thing happens in the economy or politically, or even just business-wise, and you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. and because you haven't thought about how you're going to react to this. Like, how many companies were not thinking about their marketing programs going into March and April of 2020, and then they're still scrambling 9 months later because they hadn't spent any time thinking about how they're going to react to the ongoing world conditions. And like, so, but some of the thinking time too is like, are you running tests with your LinkedIn campaigns? Like, I recently ran a test, a blue background for color on an image ad and a gradient color for an image ad. Like, I spent time like thinking about like, how do I want to test to see like what's going to work with my clients? So make sure you book in time so that you actually do the thinking. That's probably one of the most important things we do as marketers is a think. So I would book a significant amount of time to thinking every single week. So I think those are the 4 things that you need, must-haves in your routine for success. So listen to your customers, constantly create content, distribute that content, and then simmer and think about what you're doing.
An idea that came up yesterday as we were preparing was part of that simmer time, because I just want to digest this a little bit more, is creating like a stop doing list. Because I think so many times, especially in industrial companies, we work at family businesses, right? It's the same ownership, or, we just get in a routine. And maybe it's not a routine for success, like what we want, but it's just how it's been done, how it's always been done. And sometimes we need to break the mold and think about what we could cut out.
Yeah.
Meetings, do you still need to meet every week to talk about that? Do you still need to, be sending a certain report when it's not creating any value?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're spending all this time creating a report that no one even looks at anymore. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that. But
I would say like your stop doing list also has to include new things you're doing. Like, maybe at some point IML doesn't make sense anymore for Gorilla. Like, we have to have be willing to cut programs that aren't, performing for us. So like, we talk about this a lot. Are your trade shows working? Maybe we need to stop doing trade shows as part of your routine for success. Is email working for you? Is your podcast not working? Are videos not really that effective for you? But that's where customer interviews come from too, right? Like, you're constantly trying to get that feedback loop of, is this thing that I'm doing working? Is it resonating with my client base? And if it's not resonating, don't do it. And if you can start having some a way for you to get qualitative and quantitative insights into what's working or not, then you can have actual real conversations with leadership about this thing that you're having me spend a significant amount of my time doing is not moving the needle forward for our business. We said our common currency was revenue, and me making this flyer or me doing this email program, it's not cutting it. Like, it's not driving anybody to take any action with us, and it's not, creating demand. It's not educating our end users. I would recommend that we stop doing this program. So that's why the listening piece is so important. So we're going to probably say customer listening and insights is important in every single IML that we ever do, because it's that important.
Mm-hmm. So just to kind of recap, you've got your definition of success. You've created your marketing plan. You know what activities you want to do. Built in some flexibility to maybe focus in on different topics depending on what's happening, what you hear from your customers. Mm-hmm. You're starting to fuel the engine, mm-hmm. and the things that you've got to do: listen, create content, distribute that content, think about what you're doing, and pause, doing or not doing. What else do you think you need to have built into your week? Or maybe not need, but if you're really successful, these are things that you're building into your routine.
Yeah. So I think these next things we talk about could be good things to fill in that 20% time as well. If we're talking about, with those remaining 8 hours that you have in the week, you're probably going to get asked to write flyers or do emails that you don't want to do, or, do go on the assembly line for some time. But so some things I think that are some nice to haves. So first off is learning your business. Right. I think as a lot of marketers, we don't have a lot of technical background. I when I was at Graco, I had no idea what industrial pumps did. I had no idea. I could barely spell the word pneumatic. Right. So it starts with a P. That's weird. Right. But so it's good for you to go and spend some time learning about your business. Right. So at Graco, the factory was right across the street from me. So I could go into the factory and walk around and see how are the people that I work with building the products that I'm trying to market. What is about this product that's special that I could bring into my marketing? I also would go back into our lab and see how our product was actually how we were pumping chocolate or peanut butter or oil, And then I would like try to like find opportunities where I could use and demo the product. So I could turn it on, I could spray, I could do whatever the product does. Like, so just like get my hands on it and feel it and try to put myself in the shoes of my customers and my end users. Like, how are they actually using this and how is this impacting their life? And then I would also say like a good thing for a marketer maybe to do is go on sales calls. So if your team is in the field, like, try to go and spend a week, a year maybe, and get out in the field and talk to sales and see how they're selling the product and like see like what tools are they actually using to sell that product. I went to a candy factory with one of my guys, and we had they're talking about a pump that wasn't pumping caramel very well, and the line went down. They're having trouble getting the motor. And so like I saw my sales guy pull up his iPad and show a video of one of our pumps pumping caramel, and he basically made a sale on the spot with that video. And I said, oh, demo videos are extremely important in our sales process. So I started to make more of those. I would not have known that because he would never have told me that. I wouldn't have known to ask the question. So, but me going to sales call, I got to see how he did that. I never saw one person pull out a flyer or a brochure. It was pulling up a video to talk about a product, or pulling in a spec sheet so that we can say like, yeah, it works at this temperature that you're needing it to work at. So I would say learning is very big. I would say part of your must-haves is learning about marketing and attending events like IML or State of Demand Gen, or reading people on LinkedIn, like being a part of that community as a marketer. But so the nice to have is learning about your business. And I think you'll get a lot of that learning about your business too through creating content. If you're talking to a subject matter expert on a consistent, regular basis, you're going to learn about your business really well. It was actually the Pearson's Candy Company in St. Paul with the salted nut rolls. It was fun. That was a fun visit. It was better than the herring company I went to. I would say two other things. Coffee breaks. Take some time for yourself to get away from your computer. Maybe not even to think about your business. Like, you just need time to decompress mentally. Our jobs are very mentally draining, and it's very easy to lose mental strength and capacity. So getting away from everything, computer, even no podcasts, no books, just go outside, walk around, don't think about your job. Just let the world go in and out of you, and just refresh your brain so that you can do this hard work. And then the other big thing for me, at least on a nice to have, was networking. Spend time trying to insert yourself into other parts of the business so you can learn about your business, and then also so you can learn about how other people work, and then just get your name out there. I think it's a good opportunity for you to have your name go up in a company. At least at Graco was nice because the company was so big and there's so many different marketing groups. I volunteered to be a part of our branding board. It was not a required thing for the job, but I said I'd like to do it because it got me face-to-face time with a bunch of other marketers throughout the company. And I got to directly impact work that was happening at the bigger level. So that would, eventually trickle down into my division. So I would just say, yeah, learn about your company, take mental breaks, and then network both internally with your company, and then also find ways to network externally, LinkedIn, IML, State of Demand Gen, places like that. So I don't know, Mary, Aaron, do you have anything to add onto the must-haves or nice-to-haves? I think I've been talking for a long time.
Brendan's really passionate about this. Well, one thing that's come up, Katie Claus actually mentioned this. She wants to know, all right, great. So we see all these things, but now how does this happen? How does this all come together? How do I actually build in the time? So I'd like to kind of hand it over to Aaron for a second, just to talk a little bit more, because yesterday you had so many ideas going into how we would actually parse this out to make sure we're doing what we say we want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I think creating a routine for success, so much of it is, it starts with that decision tree that Mary walked us through. And then a lot of it, the day-to-day of making it happen, is protecting your time at work, which can be really hard to do, especially as an industrial manufacturer, industrial marketer. I mean, more often you're likely to wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of expectations. And so looking at that 80 versus 20% of where your time should be going can be really hard when people need you for a lot of things because you're so awesome and good at your job. So one thing that I've done in the past is just tracking your time. So there's free online time trackers, and just make little notes or think of the little buckets of time that your daily tasks go into, and just track it as if you like worked for an agency and you were billing a client. Like, you will see very quickly where all your time is going. And for me, a lot of it was disappearing into like, oh, I'm just going to quick help sales with this thing. And that adds up. I was spending like 40% of my time quick helping sales with something instead of working towards our marketing goals. So that will illuminate things that you can eliminate or delegate. And it'll also be a good tool for starting a conversation around expectations. If there is too much going on, if there's too much of, those fixing flyers, like, hey, I'm actually spending 40% of my time on this and you can see it. I'd like to cut that down. How can we readjust expectations here?
Do you have any, so I think, Erin, you've got a unique perspective because you worked at an agency like early on and then you went in-house. Did you see that folks in-house were tracking time at all? Or is that something that like you pulled over and applied to working in the manufacturing space?
Yeah, that's something I pulled over, and I wouldn't have thought to do that if I hadn't like worked in an agency previously. Because when you're salaried, we had hourly employees, they obviously tracked their time. But even if you're just clocking in and clocking out, you're still probably not tracking those details of like where those 8 hours a day are going. So it's kind of tedious at first, but it's a huge help. It illuminates a lot and helps you create a really good routine.
Do any of y'all have, and anyone who's on here right now who's tracked your time, do you have any free tools or time trackers that you've used? Question in the chat about that. So I'd love to share some tools if we have them.
Erin, did you use any programs or were you just using like a clock app with like a spreadsheet?
I used a website called clockify.me. I can put a link in the chat. I'll also put it in the Slack channel after this, but it's just free. You can create buckets. It'll show you like a pie chart of a certain period of time. It's pretty nifty.
Awesome. So John's mentioned it in the chat. John, super glad to have you back. Round two. We love time blocks. Something that Gorilla does that's really interesting is we actually have time blocks that we use that are like uniform across the company. So everybody, their time is blocked. There's no meetings, internal or external, from like this time to this time. And then we use that to slate, the client work. Can you all talk a little bit about how you've used time blocks to further your goals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I use time blocks when I need to do work that I know is going to take a long time. And I shut down every single thing except the application that I need because I will distract myself.
Yep. Yeah. And then like, at least in the agency side, like I know like I have a certain amount of time that I've dedicated to, LinkedIn for this client, Google Ads for this client. So like I use it as a way for me to understand like, okay, so I have, this amount of time dedicated every single week to running campaigns. And so it also helps me have good conversations with Grace, strategy director, like, hey, here's where my capacity is at right now. So that helps me understand that. But then also like Mary said, like, if I don't block that time up, it's really easy for me to be like, oh, I'm just going to go play with the baby for a little bit. No, Brendan, you can't do that. You said you're going to do Google Ads for this next hour because that's what your calendar said. So time blocks protect me from external people asking me to join, meetings that are not necessary usually, but then also protects the work so that I'm I'm basically saying to myself, I'm going to work on this thing during this time. So it works both ways. And then I usually just I try to do that at the beginning of a week, right? Like this week, I know I need to work on these things. So I'm going to block off this amount of time. And then, I try to leave some time open so people can like jump in for a meeting. And I also tell people that those blocks are not hard on my calendar too, that I can adjust if we need to set up some sort of meeting. But for the most part, I try to follow that pretty religiously so that I get my work done. Otherwise, yeah, I get way too distracted if I don't block off that time.
If y'all have any questions or want us to go into any detail about anything in particular, please continue to
Well,
put those in the
yeah,
chat.
and then
or
I think John said to keep the details private. I actually disagree with that. I like to put like I'm working on Google Ads for X client at this time, so people know I'm not screwing off. And then like if I was that in-house, if I was saying like I'm doing our Graco's LinkedIn management right now, well my boss knows, oh, that's an important thing that we have talked about with common currency. So I'm going to keep that. If it just says block in there, somebody it's probably like, oh, Brendan's just trying to play like video games on his phone kind of thing. At least that's how I see it. So I try to put details in there so my supervisor can go and see like, oh, he's actually be productive and he's how he's using his time. So I like using those details, but I can also see why making it private is also good too. So John, why do you like putting it private and not putting any details in there?
No, I was when I managed the
trying to
team.
keep.
No, when I managed the team at one point, with Outlook, you can see like the blocks when you try to book time, and one person I was working with had on their calendar walk around aimlessly after lunch, and it's like, oh, okay, no problem. And another one was just like, leave me alone for 30 minutes. It's like, oh, okay,
got it. Okay,
very transparent.
Yeah, we'll just put simmer time in there from now on. Yeah, walk around aimlessly. I love that.
Delise asked a question about how long do we suggest that we track our time to get a good idea of where that time is spent. Aaron, do you have like because I'm guessing you didn't do that constantly, right? It's pretty time consuming to track your time.
And also like some weeks were different. Like if I was at a trade show, I'd be there like almost 2 weeks sometime, and like 100% of my time was spent on trade show. So I would say 30 days, because you'll probably get like all the cycles of work that you would have in a typical month, but you'll probably start seeing trends or getting insights after like a week or two.
Great.
Hey Peyton, I want to address our 2s and 3s really quick since we threw it out.
We had
there.
a lot of them for sure.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Go for it, Mary.
All right, so the 2s were you have a common currency. Yes, you just need the resources to measure it. So this is pretty easy. I mean, if you have leads or opportunities and they're not tracking it, you just tell them, I don't have the resources I need to track these opportunities. A really good way to do this, and this is a hack I stole from MJ Peters. If you already have a CRM and people are filling it out, but they're maybe just not using it correctly, a really great way to do it is to track lead to customer time. So that should be something that's just automatic in your CRM. So as soon as someone fills out a form, they're marked as a lead. Now just pull a report within your CRM and see how long it takes for your sales guy to follow up. And then for how long it takes for them to become a customer or even close lost, because usually they don't follow up in time. So that's a really easy way to report back to your sales or your leadership team to say, hey, we're seeing, 2-day leads close in 2 weeks. And if, it's 6 days or more, the opportunity is gone. So that's a really easy way for you to say, we need people to start using the CRM more frequently and more robustly, because we're losing leads because they're not using it correctly. So that's like one way. That's just an example. So that's only if your company like tracks leads. So depending on what your company tracks, see where that low hanging fruit is, where you can make the case to get the resources you need. I really needed HubSpot at my old company. We needed it for email automation and for scheduling social media posts, because we had an agency doing that, but we were bringing it back in-house. Made the case. I mean, it took a long time and I had to do most of the background research. But I mean, if you make a case and you do it, usually your leadership team is going to give you the resources you need. Okay, so 3s. Define.
I'm going to say that's one,
Yes,
that's producing a lot of questions on CRMs.
Yes.
So I just want to say we might not, I doubt we'll be able to get into like the nitty gritty on CRMs today, but we'd love to do that more in the future.
I think
And
we have an episode in August dedicated to CRMs.
Nice.
Yes, and we're actually bringing in somebody from Salesforce to join us then. So we're really excited.
A person that
Salesforce
works with
consultant.
a
He's like
Salesforce,
very,
yes, they're not from Salesforce.
sorry. Get excited over here. Sorry, Mary, go ahead. The 3s.
Yeah, so 3s, this will depend on if you're a company-led company or a product-led company. So do you sell just one product and your product is just like a giant service, right? Or a giant installation? And then if you're product led, this means you have lots and lots of products. So if you're company led, then you're going to have to write a fake marketing strategy plan, and how you're going to measure it. So it'll start with customer research, positioning, how you will. So positioning is who you are, who you help, why you're uniquely positioned to help that audience, right? So then we have our target audience. Then you're going to lay out the content types that you think this audience is going to like. You're going to lay out how you're going to distribute it. And then you lay out how you're going to analyze it. So exactly what Brendan was saying, 80% of your time should be dedicated to customer research, creating content, distributing that content. So then the last piece in that fake marketing plan that you're going to write is going to be how I'm going to analyze my results. So this could be people filling out social media or something in the how did you hear about us form, if that's your primary channel for distribution. If you're going podcast, then it'll be people start filling out podcast. Now, these do take a long time. This takes like anywhere from 3 to 6 months to start seeing results. So make sure you set those expectations. Otherwise, they're going to be like, you're going to be 6 weeks in and they're going to be like, why isn't our podcast giving us any leads? And it's like, no, you got to wait a little bit. We got to get some traction here. So make sure you're setting expectations there. So that's really easy for company. Product led, you're going to do kind of the same thing, but you're going to have to take a step back and see which of your products are highest margin or highest opportunity for growth. If you have a business analytics team or an accounting team, financial team, whatever, they should be able to give you that information. So just reach out and say, hey, I'm doing this for, market research purposes. I really need to see which of our products are the highest growth margins or the highest opportunities for growth. They should be able to give you that. And now you're going to do that for that product. So just for that product line. And then this is like, hate to say it, but it's almost easier on a product-led growth side because you're just doing it for one product. So this is, hey, I'm just running this experiment for this one product. And if it doesn't work, I'll shut up and do whatever sales tells me to do. And if it does work, then I can put it out to all the other products that we sell. So that's just one way to think about how you can define success for marketing. If you're a 3 and if you're a 2, how can you ask for what you need? So I hope that helps.
Super helpful, Mary. Like, just appreciate you posting all of these thoughts just like out there on LinkedIn constantly. And it's so great to hear you explain it a little bit further. So one of the questions that has come up is just asking about like the open office concept and how you might be able to protect your time when people just float into your life. And one of the things that I think is really helpful is, yes, if you put in earphones, that's just like, I guess, like a hack. But the other thing is that you can remind people your priorities, and you can be very, very direct, that while still being nice and kind and just a nice person to work with, just say, all right, I hear you. If you want me to focus on this, I'm going to have to stop doing this and this. If you are able to articulate what your priorities are, you will be able to slate the next activity in with where it needs to fall in your priority list and keep focused. So that way you're actually moving forward on the things that are attached to strategy, not just miscellaneous tasks that come up and little fires that are burning. You can focus on fighting the big fires that are really going to make an impact in the long-term growth of your career, of the company. So just be able to articulate your priorities. And then when someone comes and says, hey, can you do this? You're able to let them know what is going to happen if you stop working on what you're doing right now. Have you all used any other tactics, and not just the host? I'm curious if anyone else in an open concept. I know so many of us now work from home, but if you've had any tactics that have worked for you, would love to hear.
Yeah, I actually have one. This is Adam.
Yeah, hey, Adam.
So at a previous company, I was the sole marketing resource for 6 brands, all industrial brands, and they started billing my time to each project in each division, which killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I was able to see where my time was going, but also like people were kind of hands off. They're like, ooh, that's going to cost me money if I got to go bug Adam with some wild idea that isn't really approved by my boss or whatever that is. So when there's a one-to-one relationship between their P&L and my time, it was a bit of a deterrent. So it was the speed bump.
Kristen, I thought you had a nice perspective too, if you wouldn't mind sharing. Thanks, Adam. That I've never heard of an industrial marketing team having their marketer assigned to a project like that with their time. So that's pretty interesting. I always hear about it with like engineers, but so that's pretty interesting that your company did it with marketing.
We were engineering oriented, and that's why it kind of was an easy application, but it might not work for every company, but it's one of those things to think about. How do you tie it to their funds?
Yeah, no, when I was in an open environment, a lot like what Peyton had said, if someone would come by and I was focused, I would ask them if we could circle back later, if I could follow up with them, if they could set up a meeting request, or even if it was urgent, needing to wrap up what I was working on so I can flick my mindset to be able to give them the right attention that they deserve for what's happening. It's all about communication, I think.
100%.
Like we were kind of talking about like communicating like when you're busy, but I also like communicate to the team like when you're open and you're willing to have conversations. So I think as a marketer, when you're like, it's very collaborative. And so I think like having open time on your calendar to like have those like interesting, weird conversations with engineering or product. I think like having open times in your calendar is also a good thing. For me, like one of my nuclear options when I was getting very bugged in the open office environment was I would just go and book a conference room. And I'd take a whole ass conference room by myself and just work in there. And then that would make the engineers upset because it'd be their conference room. I'd be like, well, sorry, you guys keep bugging me, so I'm going to bug you. So that was probably not very effective and, on the personal side, but it worked to get, work done because no one bugs people in a conference room.
Awesome. This has been a great conversation today. The chat, I've been trying to even keep up. I'm sorry if I've missed your question, but I know we're getting close to the end of the hour. So I want to just kind of like round this out and summarize, ask Mary, Brendan, Aaron, if you could boil it all down to one piece of actionable advice following this conversation, what would you suggest folks do? Maybe Aaron, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, find a free time tracker, track your time for 30 days and see what you find out. Find maybe one task you can eliminate or delegate. And use it to start a conversation with leadership if you need to.
Awesome. Brendan?
Yep, mine is going to be protect your calendar at all costs. So use time blocks to schedule your important work. Work to remove unnecessary meetings. Can this meeting be an email or a Slack communication or whatever it is? But try to get unnecessary meetings off your calendar. And then I would also, once you start getting into the 80% time and working on tasks that are actually going to go to revenue or go to leads or whatever your current common currency is, show your work to leadership and let them know, like, because you're allowing me to block this time off to work on the four must-haves with listening, creating content, distributing, and simmering, it's leading to these results. And the more that you do that, the more buy-in you'll get, so you can continue to get better results. So protect your calendar.
Mary.
All right, awesome. So mine will be based on where you're at in that decision tree, 1 through 4. List the 3 to 5 things you need to do this month, this quarter, and by the end of the year to get where you need to be. Also, I just want to throw it out there. If you're ending up in the leave category and you're kind of worried or you don't know, DM me on LinkedIn. I answer all of them. If you need to talk through it, just shout me out.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah. So we want to keep this conversation going in Slack. If you would like to join the Industrial Marketing Live Slack community, just go ahead and do like a little thumbs up or an exclamation point or a pick me in the chat, and I will personally invite you following this conversation. Our next session is July 28th. That just shocks me. I can't believe we're at the end of July already. And just as we sign off, I just want to add that we really, really enjoy doing this, and we hope it's bringing value to you. If there are things that you would like to talk about as this group, we like it when it's a group conversation because we learn from y'all just as much as we hope that you are learning from us. And we just want to keep doing it. So we can't wait to see your faces again. Thanks so much for joining today, and we will see you in a couple weeks or in Slack. Bye.
Thanks,
Good to
everyone.
see everyone.
Bye, guys.